Hello, Proxy Table Gaming fans. We are PTG, Hyper G, and Lucky Sixes.
Hello.
Hey there. How are you today?
Yes, not too bad. And we are here for a very special battle report today, because we
Very
have
special.
one of our Patreons
Yeah.
battling us. Don't you know?
Mm, Yes, even though you weren't playing the battle, I was you in spirit as well.
Mm,
Yeah, so Beardbeard, who joined our Patreon in the last few months, of which we are hugely grateful. That's
yes.
amazing. Um, and anyone else who thinks, well, yeah, I could be as good as Beardbeard, and go over to our Patreon and
Yeah.
join up
Prove it. Prove it,
because
right?
we will love you more. We will love you more than we already do if you support the channel. And just to emphasize, that everything that goes into the Patreon, money wise, goes into improving the channel, 100%. So even more thanks to you because you are making PTG better.
Absolutely.
There you go. That's the shtick. And
Yeah,
now
yeah.
into the battle with Beerbeard because he said he's over in oh god, is it Canada or is it America? Oh, I should remember that.
Oh
There's a
no.
big difference.
Oh no.
Either way, it's over there somewhere.
He's in the
um,
continent of North America.
yes, exactly that. It shows how much I was just wanted to battle him. I didn't care
Yeah.
about who he was. No, no.
And we did learn a
So
few
yeah,
things. I,
we
I
learned a
joined
lot.
I joined for about an hour
Mm,
on it as well, so
yes,
he had double PTG.
and
Um,
found out about three things that we were doing wrong
yeah,
during that
it's
hour.
really
It's
good, really good.
yeah, really interesting. Yeah.
So there's another reason we
Um,
want you to battle us Patreons
I
or
know.
whoever, because we want to
Yeah, because
learn
when we
more.
play each other, we just get it wrong continually
Yeah,
until someone tells us.
and just
And yeah,
argue.
yeah.
Just, no, it's not this.
Yeah,
They
the rules
can't
don't
possibly
actually
mean
tell you the
this.
answer.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. So Beerbeard's playing Vampire Counts, which is his most regular army. Has played a few others, and obviously it's a non-real army, as you would say.
Yes,
Vampire Counts. So we haven't seen them in Old World up until now, but it's probably the one gap in your army collection that you
it
have
is.
for
Yeah,
Old World, really, isn't it? Because
it
all the
is.
other armies are real armies for you.
Yeah. So it
You've
was
done
nice to
very well out
see.
of that ones
Yeah, it was nice
chosen.
to see what else, what vampires had in their locker, sort of thing, from Beardbeard's
Exactly.
point of view.
Yeah, and I asked him what army did he want to face because this is very much a Patreon-led battle, and he said he wouldn't mind going against the Orcs and Goblins. So I was more than happy to oblige, bringing them into the fold
Yeah,
again. So yeah, we'll see.
and
Let's
this is what
see
you took.
what we did. Yeah, this is what I took. Um, a bit different to what I've taken before for Orcs and Goblins. I did. I said to him, I'm not going to go with the five mangler list because that's just filth.
Yeah, it
As
is.
much
Yeah,
as it's fun, it is quite filthy. And I thought, no, let's try something different. And yeah, this is what I come up with. So basically, I kind of went a bit Savage Orc natured, really, in my idea. So Orc War Boss General on a chariot with Frenzy to make him the Savage Orc kind of thing, and War Paint. Got the Ogre Blade because it's just basically the best weapon, I think.
it
And he's
is.
got a
Yeah,
healing potion because I quite like the healing potion on multi-wound characters. I quite like having that ability to just, you know, your opponent thinks you're almost done, and then oh no, you're not. You've recovered back to full health. I quite like that as an item. BSB on a war boar. He's also frenzy, war paint, etc. He's got an additional hand weapon and a shield just in case something shoots him, which isn't really going to happen against vampire
no.
counts. But I wasn't playing this knowing. Well, I did. I was picking this list knowing I was against vampire counts,
But you
most
did
likely.
tailor it. Yeah.
But I didn't like take the shield off for that reason, etc. Whatever. You know what I'm saying. Weird Knob level 4 on the War. He's also frenzy for the Savage Orc Nature. Idol of Gork for I think that's the extending of the spell range. I never remember what these blooming arcane items do. But the Talisman of Protection, I think, is the
Five up
5 up ward.
pages.
Yeah, exactly. I got 5 Wolf Riders just because I needed a few points to spend in core on top of the large unit of
Yeah.
35 Orc Mob, which is really cool. And they're the Savage Orc kind of things with the Frenzy and the War Paint as well. So the big stabbers, which is really nice, and they're big uns because why not? I put some items on my champion, which I
Oh,
started
no.
doing a bit, and I quite like it, you know. And spoiler alert, this battle gives me more reason to want it. So yeah, he's got a potion of speed to increase his initiative when he wants to, and a sword of striking to get +1 to hit. Really cool. The standard is the big red raggedy flag. I can't know what that does either. I should remember. I think it's to do with strength on the charge, but I'll look it up when I get a second. Then I got 9 orc boy boar mobs. That was, I think, yeah, I said that in the right order.
Yeah.
Orc boy boar mobs of boys of boars orcness. They're also frenzy warpaint, cavalry spears and shields. Again, I put an ed button at on the champion just to give him an extra attack. And the banner of butchery, I think that extends their charge range, or that might be the one that gives them +1 strength in the charge. Actually, I'll have a little look in a second. 2 orc boar chariots, because I liked the idea of the chariots, because single models does just seem like a good way to go in old world. So I brought them out. I forgot to put warpaint frenzy on them. How annoying. So they're technically not the savage orc natured kind, which really bugged me, like way more than it should have done. But I didn't have the points because you have to actually pay points for it, so I couldn't even jig it around at the last second. So, and then I tried out a giant, yeah, he's two giants. Sorry, yeah, 2 giants. Yeah, because I haven't tried them yet, and the rare category is very competitive for Orcs and Goblins, because you also got the Manglers and obviously the Ragnarok. So yeah, it's quite a competitive category. So I thought I'd try giants to see how they're doing.
My inkling would be the big red raggedy flag is speed, because Orcs think red makes you go faster.
But yeah,
isn't that right?
I mean, does it not?
Well,
you know,
absolutely. In terms of beard business, I was really interested to see what he took to the thing, because I just haven't looked at them, and they are a little. There's a bit of curiousness from the Vampire Count's point of view, but he's got a Strigoi Gore King, level 2 on Battle Magic, Headman's Axe, Talisman of Protection, Dark Acolyte, Master of Black Arts, and Lord of the Night. Master Necromancer level 4. On the Mortis engine as well, which is quite interesting to see. Hand of Dust, Skull Staff, Spell Familiar. 2 Banshees for some screamage. 29 Crypt Ghouls with a champion. 4 Bat Swarms. 10 Direwolves with champion. Fell Bats. And then 2 Terrorgeists for even more screamage.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny because when I said to Bearbid that I wasn't taking 5 Manglers because it's a bit filthy, he came back with his list, and it was like 2 Terrorgeists, 2 Banshees, and I was like, that's filthy, man. So yeah, but I mean, obviously
that's good.
It's amazing. We've already worked out that you can take like twice as many Terrorgeists if you want to. It's legal. There's a way of doing it, so it's not as filthy as it could have been in terms of Terrorgeist screening. But yeah, it'll be really cool to see how this gets on. For info, I'm aware that Master of the Black Arts wasn't possible to take on a Strigoi Gore King. And I think so the Strigoi Gore King can't take that because that has to be taken by a vampire count, not a Strigoi.
Right. Sure.
So I think Bearbid jigged around his list ever so slightly, picked an item that was slightly less points or something.
Sure.
Just quickly to start the battle. But yeah, it's just a slight change there. And yeah, we just did an open battle. We kept it really simple. Bearbid hasn't really played too many of the fancy scenarios, so he was happy just to do an open battle. And yeah, why not? Let's just fight, basically.
We haven't had too many of them, actually. I think, speaking of that.
No, we haven't.
Because we've looked to do all more. So.
Yeah. We played on Warhall because I didn't fly over to America or Canada, and he didn't fly over to England.
Which is good because you would have gone to the wrong one. You definitely would have gone to the wrong place.
Almost certainly would have. Yeah, absolutely.
I thought you were in Canada.
I mean, I could just look at the chat that we had or remember what he said, but I'm not going to do either of those.
Just be an attentive person. That's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. But I have looked at the big red raggedy flag, and that is actually +1 weapon skill. So you were wrong. It's not speed at all.
I've never looked at it in my life.
No. So. But I was right about the what was the other one? Banner of Butchery, which is +1 strength.
Sure.
So yeah, there you go. Oh, the big red raggedy flag also gives +1 comrades as well, in case people are screaming. No, it also does that, and you didn't mention.
They are screaming. I can tell. I can actually hear them through these.
Yeah, absolutely. Get it right. I mean, that's what PTG does. Get it right every time. Right?
Every time. 20% of the time, we're right every time. And that's generous.
It is.
Let's,
it really is.
Let's, so what have you got then? What's in your deployment?
My deployment, I put an Orc chariot, which is not a Savage Orc chariot. Over on the left flank. I think Beerbid deployed and dropped both. No, he didn't drop. That's not a thing.
Drop,
in Old World. He got first turn. That's a spoiler alert there. Yeah. He started with his dogs on that side, and he was putting loads of stuff down. I put my Orcs bang center. I'm going to call them Savage Orcs going forward, even though that's not technically a thing. The Wolf Riders, just on the right side of the Impassable House. Giant, another standard Orc chariot, is next to the Giant. The one that's off kilter is the War Boss. I was a bit, very scared with them because they're single model units, and the screams can just go through them very quickly. So I deployed them quite far back. Whereas my multi-wound big unit of Orcs with the Weird Boy in Black's front and center. I'm just going to run it right at him. The Boar Boys are on the hill with the BSB, and then a Giant on the flank. And again, I'm a little bit scared with the Giant, but the Giant has got leadership 10. So
is he unbreakable?
No, I don't think he's unbreakable, but he has got leadership 10.
There are a few Giants that are unbreakable now.
Oh, right. Okay.
In Old World. So I didn't know whether he was as well.
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, we'll go on and we'll see if it comes up at all. It clearly didn't come up, so...
No, it didn't come up. And no, I can't see it on there. Anywho, Beerbid comes forward at me, like very aggressively. Not as aggressively as he could. He didn't fly his terror guys straight at me or anything like that. So I was pleased that I was getting one turn at least without being screamed.
What's the march thing on? What's the march restrictions on vampires?
Oh, they just can't march if they're not
unless they fly.
Unless they fly, yes. Yeah.
So
that's how
that's interesting.
Got around it. Yeah,
sure, and then similar here.
Yeah, so bats and terrorgeists can fly, no problem. Van Hel's Dance Macabre is the spell that was put on the ghouls, which allowed them to move forward an extra D3 inches, I think.
Yeah, that comes up later to give you the options. It gives you options of what you could do, I think.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that was all good. But I think that was pretty much his turn one. Apart from put this vortex out, I can't remember what it's called.
Spiritual vortex.
There you go, spiritual vortex. That one, is really, really lots of synergy with his list because it's all about reducing my leadership to then scream at me, and
doesn't move, right?
Doesn't move, that one. No.
Yeah, great. I think that's the big difference in the vortex.
You can go through it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Is that the ones that don't move randomly are infinitely better.
Yes. Pretty much. I would say so.
It's
you'll
quite
see
big,
in the next picture.
It's quite a big template as well. Yeah.
This one is, and within 12 of it. But you will see in the next picture, I dispel it at the start of my turn.
Yeah,
because I don't much like the idea of that being there for when the screams come. I declare a long charge with my Wolf Riders. I mean, it's probably long in terms of Old World, but it's doable if I roll well.
Be done.
I fail it. So I won't get into the bats this turn. And my single models all move tentatively forwards because they're still scared of the screams that might come back at them. Whereas my big brick of Orcs just goes forward. Yeah, we're going to fight, and that's what we do. The boars just shuffle about on the hill a bit because they're also quite scared of the screams. So I don't really know how I'm going to approach this until my Orcs have done whatever they can do. That's my plan. If my Orcs go and do what they can do, and then I'll see what's left. It's my idea. Because otherwise I just get screamed to death very quickly. And this is obviously missing a turn because Beerbid just comes forward again. I was delighted to see that he kept his Terrorgeist back again, because he was kind of doing exactly what I was doing. I was keeping my models back so that they couldn't get screamed. He kept his screamers back until there was something to scream.
Yeah.
Kind of, which makes sense. But what I did see was an opportunity to start killing stuff and potentially overrunning, with a few things. The arrow that's crossed out is because the chariot on the left, which is a normal chariot, not a savage orc chariot.
Just normal, regular.
That one, I crossed out that charge because I realised that chariots don't have swift stride.
Yes.
So it was actually an illegal charge. He couldn't make it. Whereas the war boss had the spell that allows him an extra D3 on the charge, which meant it was possible for him to get into those bats. Obviously, the orcs are absolutely taking that charge. The boar boys and the giant are going into the bats to try and kill some stuff. And basically, what I was thinking was, this is what I wanted with the orcs running through the middle and doing as much as they can before they inevitably die. I'm not expecting them to survive this battle. They're savage orcs. That's what they're meant to do. And I figured that this was my best chance to get rid of the chaff and start making him engage with stuff that he wanted to use. Sure. And I couldn't just sit there all day. So I declared every charge in the book.
Good.
Basically. I made most of them, or at least most of the obvious ones. The war boss failed. It was quite a long charge because, again, I realised he didn't have swift stride.
Sure,
So it wasn't illegal because of the spell, but it was
roll lots of
pretty
sixes.
Impossible. Exactly, yeah, and he didn't, which is fine. I wasn't too bothered about keeping those models back at this stage. Giant and boar boys making it to the bats, the wolf riders making it to the bats, and the other chariot, because it's kind of got nothing to worry about on the left flank, just moves forward and tempts the wolves. So there we go. We'll see how it goes now that I've actually engaged. Well, it goes relatively well in the middle. Very well, I guess you'd say, really, because the orcs defeat the bats and they go through them and overrun or follow up, I should say. It is overrun, isn't it?
It isn't a follow-up because they're not survived. Follow-ups after the give round,
Exactly, and I kill them all, so you know. And I overrun into the ghouls, which is great because that way I'll just kill as many as I can before the orcs go down, because the Ghoul King's in there and he is a blender. On the right flank, again, the boar boys and the BSB go through the bats. The giant, I decided not to overrun, and that actually passes a leadership test because he's leadership 10. The boar boys, I can't remember whether I tried to hold them back. I think I did, but failed the overrun test. And I don't think the BSB gives you a reroll to that, because we're kind of used to BSBs giving rerolls for everything.
To everything, but it's
not. I don't think that's the case for BSBs in Old World, so they charge forward, which will mean they get screamed at, and I'm very terrified of what that'll do to them. Goblin wolf riders. That was me combining goblin and wolf.
I know, I liked it. The golfers.
The golfers do terribly against the bats. I mean, you know, it wasn't really a heavyweight fight. But yeah, I lost 2 goblins. He lost 1 wound on a bat. The golfers are going to need some help over there. But it does mean the bats are stuck. So that's all right. He moved up his dire wolves. And you might think that's kind of like, well, obviously the chariot's just going to charge into their flank. That was before he did his reserve move with the dire wolves.
Sure.
Which is a thing. So
it's cool they have reserve move.
They move. Yeah, really cool. It gives them a little bit more of an option, chaff-wise. Because obviously they can't march. There's nothing that allows them to march. So dire wolves, as we know it from a certain other game, can move really, really far. These ones can, but only via the reserve
2 stages.
Shooting phase. So yeah, exactly. So it's a bit different. Otherwise, he puts up this vortex and screams, and that is the effect of the scream. I lose 6 of my boar boys. 6
out of 10.
It's just horrible, you know. And that's obviously, and Curse of Years goes on them as well. I was pleased that Curse of Years wasn't actually on the orcs. It meant that the orcs could fight just as well as they could. I guess he was kind of thinking those boars, if the scream doesn't go well, they probably could do a number on the Terrorgeist. So at least that kind of calms them down a bit.
Yeah.
But the Spirit Leech on the Orcs, obviously that is a real problem for leadership, because if I do lose combat, I'm very low leadership.
Yeah.
So yeah. And also the Tomb Banshees are screaming in to this. But the combat goes insanely well, and I roll very well. Really, really well. This is where we find out about one of the rules that we hadn't really played correctly, which was my Savage Orcs are armed with additional hand weapon, which gives them an extra attack each. And we basically found out that if they're not in base contact, then having multiple attacks, you'll see it in the previous picture, the ones on the outskirts, they don't get their extra attacks. They just get one.
Just get one support, yeah.
Because they're in the fighting line, but they're not in base contact with something, so they just get one supporting attack almost. And we weren't doing that. I can't remember many examples when we've done it wrong. I think probably there weren't many examples where we've given extra attacks.
No, there's not many times when that's happened. The big thing of that is it maybe limits how good Linehammer is.
Well, yes, indeed.
With some of the better infantry units. Yeah. So, something to think about. The other thing I should say as well from this picture is he got an amazing amount of spells off, and I think that was because also when your wizards are in combat, they can't be nominated to do wizard leader spells.
No, yeah, which is crazy. I definitely needed somewhere better for my orc weird boy to be. Yeah. Good point. I've forgotten about that. Because we were just going on with they can dispel as normal. We knew that there was a restriction on the spells they could cast,
and the range of it. Because of course you're probably 6 inches from his mortis engine guy.
Yes,
and even less from his level 2. So yeah.
Yeah, so it was really, really interesting. I think at one point his mortis engine actually miscast, and because part of the effect of the mortis engine is he has to miscast twice when he miscasts, because there's a boost to the spells that he's casting. Neither miscast was bad though, so kind of why did I bother mentioning it? But yeah, anyway, the Orcs go absolutely crazy on this combat, so they do not lose. I think the good thing about this was I was charging and going before the ghouls. So the Strigoi Ghoul King killed a load of orcs. The orcs killed loads of ghouls. The ghouls didn't have as many attacks back, or none attacks back, sorry, because I'd killed loads of them.
First line,
and then they
crumbled
in the combo res.
Give ground as well.
They gave ground, which meant that I followed up and hit the Tomb Banshee on the right. So I couldn't actually follow up to continue the combat. But yeah, providing those orcs don't lose combat, that leadership problem is not a problem, and I'm just barging through. So really cool.
So
the
does
golfers on the left do badly again?
Out of interest, the golfers, So they did 1 and then lost 2 against.
Oh yeah, they're gonna need help.
That's a bogey for the golfers.
Absolutely.
The Vortex and Spirit Leech, they combine, presumably. So you're -4 leadership or something.
Yep.
Whatever it is.
I think it's -2 from the Vortex, -1 from. Oh no, it might be -4, and then the Screams are -2 leadership.
Sure.
So.
Anyway,
yeah.
Oh right, wow.
The Screams.
So you're -6.
It's horrible.
Ooh.
Something like that. Yeah. So I basically am losing 6 models to every Scream.
Sure.
This is going in. That was my turn.
That's your turn, yeah.
No, it wasn't, because I overran with the bats. This was his turn. Now we're going into.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So the only reason some of the orcs died, I think actually, if you go back, you don't have to, but if you were to go back, you'd see that I had more orcs before the combat started than I did after they'd fought, because the ones that died, like these, I'm missing 4 bases here in this picture. They're the ones that the Strigoi Ghoul King killed. but before that, I had more orcs that died to the scream. So,
yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Because you can scream in combat.
Yeah, the banshees can scream in combat. Yeah,
nice.
They have to do it in their shooting phase, not in their combat phase, though. So there was that. Obviously, the terror guy screamed at the boar boys, so that's why the orcs didn't lose quite as many. But yeah, it's screamtastic, and the orcs did really well. I mean, they are big uns. They had an extra weapon skill. They had extra combat res from the banner. They had 2 attacks each in the front rank. I rolled pretty well, let's be honest. And Gauls don't have any defense, really, armor or anything.
Yeah.
So it was a good combat for the orcs. I help out the golfers with a chariot charge. What did I take a wound from? Something must have shot me with magic, maybe. I don't know. But either way, the golfer survives because the orc boar chariot just comes and impact hits those bats and finishes them off, which is amazing. I reform with my boar boys. I failed to dispel the vortex this turn. But I reformed with my boar boys. I didn't fancy charging the terror guys, taking a DTs and then being at -1 toughness and stuff. So I just figure if he wants to scream me again, fine. But it means he's using up a scream on them rather than on orcs, who are looking pretty good.
Yeah.
The orcs in my combat phase go through the first Tomb Banshee. I think that was on combat res.
Sure.
Because obviously he's ethereal, so I can't actually. Yeah, exactly. But what's interesting is I have put a magic weapon on my champion.
Oh, sure.
So my champion is actually in base contact with this next Tomb Banshee. So actually, I'm not only getting combat res, but I can also attack him.
Sure. Does that mean he could have made 1 support before? Because he's in the fighting rank.
What do you mean?
So like,
I was only ever in contact with 1 Banshee at a time.
Yeah. So, but before, when the Banshee was over on this side.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm forgetting. Yeah. I probably could have done that, actually. I don't know whether I did.
Like as a support attack.
Fighting around. Yeah, it wouldn't have been 2 because he wasn't. Or 3 because of additional hand weapon. No, you're right. Maybe I could have done. I don't know whether he did or not. But either way.
There's only 1, but you never know.
Yeah. And I overrun into the next Banshee because it couldn't get out of the way. I think we are in combat with the Gauls. I think he charged them in his. Well, we've not got to his turn yet, have we?
This is his turn and he's healed. So, but it's before the charge phase.
Sure. Right, I'm with you. Yeah, so I've overrun into the Tomb Banshee already, and then he heals. Interestingly, this was when another clarification point came up with the healing, and I kind of like had to be the douchebag who told Beard this, because this was a rule I did know. And he was telling us so many rule corrections. So I was like, I've got to mention it. When he first started healing his Gauls, he started putting them in the front rank for Linehammer.
Sure.
And the rules for healing models, according to the rulebook, are that you've got to complete your rank up to what your your 1 rank is for that type of unit, which is 5 wide for heavy infantry, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then you have to put them on at the back to add extra files, extra ranks. So you can't actually create Linehammer by bringing models back to life.
Sure. But then you could move to redress the ranks, potentially.
Yes, if you didn't charge. Yeah, you could. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But he charges, and this is Van Hals for people that wanted to know.
Yeah, and so Van Hals does give you an extra D3 to other stuff. It doesn't always have to be movement, so weapon skill, initiative, etc. So I can't remember which he put on. Spirit Leech goes on again to my orcs. And I think this is a picture after combat. Yeah, because he's now attacking first.
Yes.
So he kills a whole load of orcs, which is obviously an issue. And I have a few attacks left because I'm line hammering it. My champion, after all that bigging up, doesn't kill the Tomb Banshee, despite the fact he's +1 to hit. Strike sort of.
Could he have the chance though?
He had a chance, exactly. Yeah, and I killed a few Gauls to keep them in check with the attacks I had left. But mainly it's because I don't have initiative, I lose 6 to 3 on wounds, and that's going to be a problem for my minus leadership orcs.
Yeah. Did he as well previously scream the chariot that was over here?
The scream isn't a huge range, so he was keeping his Terrorgeist back, and that was a massive relief to me. I think I do remember that the Terrorgeist has screamed into the boars on the right hand side.
Yeah,
and did terribly.
Only did one. Okay.
Yeah, did terribly. So there was that. But the other Terrorgeist seemed to just be staying still, which I was very happy about.
But you're down on leadership, and unfortunately that meant you ran.
I ran. I got run down. Absolutely. To be expected, really. I was always going to fail that leadership because, I mean, obviously, when your leadership gets reduced so low, you got a lot of chance of rolling higher than your base leadership. Normally, your leadership is high enough to mean that you can fall back in good order or give ground if you roll within that leadership. But when your leadership starts at 7 and is reduced to like 3 or whatnot, you're not going to roll below that unless you get really lucky. So yeah, he goes after me, and that opens up quite an opportunity for me. Obviously, he doesn't know how far he's going to run, and he doesn't want me to get away. Because if I get away, then I'm going to rally or I'm going to keep my points, etc. So he kind of has to go after me, and he kind of has to go after me with both to give himself as much chance as possible. So it wasn't a bad play. He just got a little bit unlucky with where they ended up.
Yeah.
Especially because my war boss has a flank charge against his Tomb Banshee. A war boss with an ogre blade doesn't care about ethereal, and is so there's that. And that overrun flank into the side of the ghouls is pretty tasty for my war boss as well. And the fact that those guys have moved forward towards my war boss means that there's flank charges on either side for my boar boys and my normal chariot against the mortis engine. And yes, it's got like 7 or 8 wounds, but it really doesn't have much in terms of aggressiveness.
Sure.
There's not like a vampire sitting on top of it or anything. This is just a caster.
It's just a 5-up ward as well.
Yeah, it's not much. So I'm kind of thinking, if I don't charge with the boars, I just get screamed to death.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got to risk going through the dangerous terrain in the vortex, but may as well, And as it happens, the boars don't die to the dangerous terrain, and I get right into that mortis engine. I move my other chariot round. You can see that the golfer's gone after the direwolves because the direwolves turned around to avoid that chariot fight, basically. Yeah, if the direwolves turn around themselves and go after the golfer poos his pants and runs away again. But because the giant has now decided not to help him out. But yeah, the giant's just moving into position as well. And yeah, it's looking all right. I mean, obviously the Terrorgeist is still sitting there looking ominous, but this is a good opportunity for me. So liking where it's going at the moment. You'll notice I haven't cast any magic. That was because the wizard was in combat the whole
time. Gone. Yeah.
And now he's dead. So there you go. The war boss goes through the Tomb Banshee, no problems at all, and goes into the side of the ghouls, which is nice. I cleared up that mortis engine. I did lose my ball boys. The BSB was the only one left, and he took a wound. But I can't overrun. Well, I don't overrun. There is no overrun into the Terrorgeist. I just turn around the chariot. I overrun with the boar. But I don't need to. That might have even been a failed leadership check. I don't know. But I'm just getting out of the rightmost Terrorgeist's line of sight, really. And then in his turn, he moves up his Terrorgeist on the right to scream 4 wounds on my war boss, which is exactly the reason why my war boss stayed at the back so long. So in terms of that's what happens. If you get close to a Terrorgeist and you're not the kind of model that can take it. The leftmost Terrorgeist screams my BSB off the board, and as well as charging the chariot.
Sure, that's pretty cool that you can do that.
Yeah, really cool. And the giant, well, this is his turn. That's all he's got left, really. Everything else is in combat. I think maybe the direwolves turn around, but I don't think I even take a picture of what happens with the direwolves and the golfer, because I think they just go and live happily as wolves.
Practice their swing.
Exactly. Yeah. In the combat, I take a wound on the chariot. I don't do anything to the Terrorgeist. He charged me, so there was no impact hits or anything like that. We declare a challenge. I can't remember who declared it to who, but I accept it because I was I was fairly sure that the Strigoi wouldn't kill my war boss in one go.
Okay.
And I had a healing potion that I could use at the start of my next turn. So I accept the duel. I think it was a little bit of a, this is general on general. Let's have a fight.
Yeah.
And also, if I decline the duel,
can't fight.
I can't fight, and so that wouldn't be great. So we do 1 wound each, which is a little bit of a whiff on both sides. But I was fine with that. The Strigoi was probably the better fighter, but yeah. I get really lucky with my healing potion and heal 3 wounds at the start of my turn on the war boss, which is amazing. And this might well be... Oh, that's the last picture, yeah. I declare charges with my remaining 3 models. The chariot on the hill also declared a charge into the chariot geist on the left, so there was 2 charging models in there. Oh, an extra picture. There you go. The giant charges into the ghouls, which means it's giant versus ghouls, while my war boss fights the Strigoi. On the grind, I think my war boss kills the Strigoi because I've got like 5 wounds left or something like that.
Because the healing potion,
and so Beard chucks in the towel at that point, which is fair enough, because I think the ghouls and the Strigoi were about to die. The Terrorghast on the left was about to die. The rest might have been crumbled, but there you go. Awesome success for the Orcs. I thoroughly enjoyed this list. It might have come through with how I've spoken about it. It kind of helped that I rolled really well with the Orcs in that first combat against the ghouls. So what a battle that was! That was amazing. I have remembered where Beard is from. Looked off camera. He's from Seattle, which is the US of A. It's not Canada. Wonderful. So there you go. But yeah, clocking up the victory points was, I mean, it's a victory. It's a solid victory. It's not a crushing victory because crushing victory has to be double. I wasn't double. Obviously, a few of those models were still on the board at the end of the game when Beard shook, but it was on the verge of crumbling, etc. But yeah, really good game with Beard. Really enjoyable, fun match, and I would be happy to play against him again. Or any other Patreons who want to have a game.
Absolutely.
Need to let us know, because that is what we are offering our Patreons. If you want to be one of that elite club, you know where to go.
And
really
from our point of view, obviously we'll take you over to this one where the Patreon is, but from our point of view, we've got a couple more battles, and then we are going to be looking at a campaign of sorts. So do stay tuned for what is essentially going to be our long-standing thing. We're going to have some campaign updates, and within that campaign there will be battles, of course, and we will show you the battles as regular bat reps. But that's what we're going to be doing in the interim. So probably if you want any sort of part in that, Patreon is your best bet to go over there, subscribe to the £2 Patreon thing, membership, whatever it is. But
dollars if you're in the US of A. Whatever it translates as.
No idea what that is. But so go over that. Then we'll be sort of every now and then be pushing something out in terms of the campaign once it's out, and people have seen the start of it. We'll see how we can get you involved and stuff. So if you do want to do that, go over to that. If you just want to message us for any reason, obviously YouTube comments is your best bet, and you do that pretty well so far. But if you want to go over to Twitter or to Facebook, I should say X, formerly known as Twitter.
Got to get used to it
Facebook,
at some point.
And of course the Patreon, as we just said. Use Warhall today, and we use Warhall a lot. So a good way of challenging your friends overseas, if they are in Canada, Seattle. Then
the continent of Seattle. Yes. Absolutely. Thank you, Beard, for the game. Really enjoyed it. It was nice to see vampire accounts as well, because obviously Lucky Sixes is going through his real armies and probably wouldn't have got to vampire accounts for a while. So really good to see them. Or maybe they'll be coming up in the campaign, maybe. But it was good seeing them, what they can do. And I enjoyed it. Sorry that I managed to beat you. You'll just have to play me again, Beard.
1-0 PTG is what I'm saying.
Rare we get to say that, isn't it? It's so rare that we get to say that.
That's why we had to say it, I'm afraid. But yeah, like we said, check us out on all the things. Thanks very much for watching. Stay safe, and as always, see you later.